everyone. It is Friday, and this is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany. Joining me today, Cheryl Casoni, Tommy Lahren, Dr. Nicole Saphier, and Sean Duffy. Well, we begin with what you watched last night. President Biden's not-so-unifying speech, despite promises to unify America when he took the oath of office. The president, in front of what critics describe as a dark and angry red background, used a national address. That's right, you paid for it with your taxpayer dime. He used his national address last night to portray half of Americans as threats to the very foundation of our country. Watch.
There's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country. They embrace anger. They thrive on chaos. They live not in the light of truth, but in the shadow of lies. MAGA Republicans look at America and see carnage and darkness and despair. They spread fear and lies. That's why respected conservatives like Federal Circuit Court Judge Michael Luttig has called Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans, quote, a clear and present danger to our democracy.
But in the very same breath, he tried to be Mr. Unity.
An American president, not a president of red America, blue America, but of all America. That's why tonight I'm asking our nation to come together, unite. We are still an America that believes in honesty and decency and respect for others. Look, I know politics can be fierce and mean and nasty in America. I get it. Democracy begins and will be preserved in we, the people's habits of the heart. Empathy that fuels democracy. The willingness to see each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans.
I could not believe what I watched last night, Tommy. The best description that came to mind was split personality disorder. Because on one hand, you had Biden saying half the country's a threat to democracy, we're a clear and present danger to society, but let's unite and let's not demonize our fellow man. Which Biden is real, one or two? I don't know.
Well, what I heard is let's unite against people that support Donald Trump, which is 74 million plus Americans, probably many more after last night, certainly dusting off the MAGA hat. But I just want to explain to those that aren't familiar of what a MAGA Republican is, because I don't think the Democrats, I don't think Joe Biden has it straight. A MAGA Republican is not an extremist. It's not somebody who denies elections. A MAGA Republican is somebody who loves their country, loves their family, wants their country to come first, loves law enforcement, loves the military. It's those forgotten Americans in the heartland of our country that work hard every single day, don't ask for much from anybody, do their thing, want the government to be as small as possible. And they united behind Donald Trump because he brought that message. That's what a MAGA Republican is. And the fact that our sitting president used our tax dollars to stand there and say what he said, flanked by Marines no less, who also love their country, was disgusting to so many Americans on the right and on the left. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. You know, Sean, I couldn't help but think of the faces of thousands of people I've seen across the country, to Tommy's point, who are MAGA Republicans. There are millions. I've personally met probably thousands. You know, a veteran who told me with tears in his eye that, in fact, his life was saved because he called the veteran hotline and got help. And it was Laura Trump, actually, who picked up the phone and personally reached out to him. I thought about a young man in Michigan. Again, tears in his eyes because the First Step Act got him out of a nonviolent, overly burdensome sentence, and he was back with his family that Christmas. I mean, I thought of a mom who said, my son waited in line the right way to become an immigrant to this country, to become a citizen, and she was so proud to go to a Trump rally. That's who I thought about. Attack the candidate all you want, but do not dare attack the men and women, the veterans who have served this country and put their lives on the line and support the Constitution.
You know, this is flag, faith, freedom. That's what MAGA Republicans believe in. And I've met thousands of them. I've been to Trump rallies. Some of the best people you meet in this country. Nonviolent, friendly, happy, pro-American people. And this was a grossly, political event that was billed as an official event, which is just, sick all the way around, and to the point of the Marine standing behind him, this eerie red backdrop. he looked like the villain, but this is what's happening here. I mean, you have Joe Biden classifying 74 million Americans as extremists, as fascists. When you have extremists, fascists, terrorists that are half of America, you have to use every resource available to take them out, whether it's the government, big tech, media, intelligence, law enforcement. They need to be rooted out of this society. And so Joe Biden is, I think, setting the stage for a war against half of America, because if you want to fundamentally transform America, you can't have 74 million people standing in your way. And I think this is the predicate to making sure they have the backdrop to go after every single Trump supporter.
Speaking of backdrops, you mentioned it. The hellish blood red backdrop. Yeah. Dr. Sapphire, I saw Scott Walker, former governor, put up this tweet. You know, it was the inauguration day Biden, the Mr. Unity Biden, you know, how it went versus how it's going with the blood red background. Likewise, Dark Brandon, who was supposed to be a superhero, is now very villainous. We have those, we'll pop them up.
You know, I also thought that the background was pretty poor optics. It definitely was in line with their dark brand, you know. I mean, just look at that. It's too much. But the president missed the opportunity to be honest with the American people last night. If he wanted to speak out against extremism, he would have called out extremism on both sides of the aisle and not just focus on the Republican side of it. I mean, he was talking about how he was upset that FBI members who raided Mar-a-Lago, that they were getting personal threats of violence against them, but he was silent when the SCOTUS justices were having murder threats against them. And so he was silent there, and he kept saying democracy is under threat. And he's absolutely right. Good opportunity to talk about the fact that it's becoming obvious his administration, the DOJ, Surgeon General, they've been working in cahoots with social media to silence opinions that haven't been in line with them. And so on what he did was he made Donald Trump and his supporters public enemy number one. And I will say that, yes, Donald Trump is a threat to President Biden, but not the way that he wanted to portray it. He's a threat to him having a second term, whether Donald Trump wants to run himself or is going to support another Republican to. That is the biggest threat that Donald Trump has to President Biden, because his policies have failed.
And Cheryl, Dana Perino made a great point this morning. If the fascist MAGA Republicans are such a threat, then why do Democrats fund them in primaries to the tune of $43 million, according to Newsweek? This tweet out from Natalie Allison of Politico. There's now a McConnell-Schumer super PAC ad war over the next week and a half in the New Hampshire Republican primary race. And he points out the Democrats have put $3.1 million in to try to get an ultra MAGA candidate elected. So if they're such a threat, you're funding them.
Well, they're hoping that they can defeat said candidate. But look, last night was overtly political. The good news is that none of the major networks took the comments from the president. Only 2 cable networks took those comments because they knew that this had nothing to do with democracy or the spirit of America, which is what they billed it as. And the cleanup on aisle 5 has already begun from Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary. Now she's trying to say, and she was on the podium saying this, well, we're more targeting, those that are MAGA candidates or the office holders. We're targeting those in Congress, those with power. They know that they offended half the country. And let's also be clear here. Not all Republicans are Trump backers or Trump believers, but they are card-carrying members of the Republican Party. Maybe they like the policies of Donald Trump. Maybe they didn't like the man so much, but you're taking that group as well, and you're galvanizing them. So what they're doing is going to have the exact opposite, I think, of what they're planning to do.
Yeah, but Tom, I would just make the point really quick. It's like 95% of the party that supports Trump or DeSantis. These are MAGA candidates. This is not a party of establishment figures.
This is not the squishy Republican Party. This is the MAGA wing. And what does MAGA is Make America Great Again? So he's not saying specifically Donald Trump. He's saying MAGA, and MAGA is the policies that put America first, the American worker first, American manufacturing first. We're going to look out for our people first. It's the philosophy behind Donald Trump that he's attacking, not necessarily Donald Trump himself. And it's the people that you said can either support Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, but the whole party, for the most part, supports these policies that put our people first.
Pence, another great example, another top 3 contender who supports the Trump policies. Tommy, last word to you. I just wonder what those Marines were thinking, because they might have been MAGA Republicans.
They may have been. They likely were. Either way, they love their country, right? But let's just think about the imagery that portrayed. And if it were Donald Trump giving the same speech, how militant that looked, how intimidating that looked. To use those Marines as a political prop to make a political speech against half the country, not only inappropriate, but I would go as far as to say un-American. Shame on our president for doing that.
It was a sad moment, and I'm with you. I'm so glad the broadcast networks didn't take it, or maybe I wish they did, so America could have seen more of it.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.